Welcome back to the Freedom Room, where we explore the people, movements, and ideas shaping America today. In this video, we are examining the risks or the rise of Black conservatives in America, who they are, why their voices are growing, and how they are changing political conversations. For much of modern American history, Black voters have been strongly associated with the Democratic Party, especially because of the party's connection to the civil rights movement and the social justice issues. However, a growing number of Black Americans have embraced conservative ideas, supported Republican candidates, or challenged traditional political expectations. Their views varied widely, but many focus on issues such as entrepreneurship, family values, educational reforms, religious beliefs, personal responsibilities, economic opportunities, and a smaller role of the government. Why are some Black Americans moving towards conservative politics? Is this a major political shift or simply a wider expression of different opinions within the Black community? Stay with us as we explore this important and often debated topic. First, let's watch some clips. We'll be back with more commentary. Let's watch a clip together, and when we return, we'll discuss what is behind the political movement. Thank you. Watch to the end and subscribe to the Freedom Room. We'll come back with more commentary.
They have demonized and made conservatism so racial that it's people in this country who believe that Black people cannot be conservatives, which is absolutely false. And even today, we are very conservative. Even y'all woman Jasmine Crockett told y'all that. But y'all don't listen to me. Let's go ahead and break this down, y'all. If you know and you've been watching my platform, you know that I do a lot of history videos on the Reconstruction era. This was the era that your Black people started to get into political office. It was over 2,000 Black people in political office in the 1800s, y'all. In the South alone, we had a lot of political power. But let's get to this conservative part, because when I talk about these people's accomplishments, it's always a group of people that want to come and say, well, that's because they were liberal. Well, they would be Democrats today. That is absolutely false. Back in the day, they were conservatives because they wanted to conserve things. Conserving is just holding on to something, fighting for it. They wanted to hold on and fight for the newly given laws that was given to us by the Republicans. And this was the 13th Amendment, the 14th Amendment, the 15th Amendment. It is the Civil Rights Act of the 1860s. They wanted to conserve all of these things. They wanted to conserve the promise that was given to Black Americans by the federal government. They wanted a very small but powerful government. A government powerful enough to protect them from the Southern Democrats, who were your ex-slave owners. They wanted to conserve their pillars of conservatism. The pillars of it is very simple, and many of us still live by it today. The first one, God. They wanted the ability to conserve, being able to practice their religious rights, because when they were slaves, they could not openly do this. Second, family. They wanted to conserve their ability to have a family. See, during slavery, they could not get legally married. So when they became free people, they could now get married. And what marriage meant for them, when they were slaves, if you were not married, the man did not have any power over his children. 3, they wanted to conserve that Second Amendment. They want to have that firearm so they can protect themselves against your Southern Democrats as well as their Triple K members. They wanted to be self-reliant. They wanted to be left alone. They only wanted the government to protect. That's it. They did not want any welfare. All of the things you want today, you want Section 8, food stamps, they did not want that. They wanted to be left alone and be able to build their own communities and businesses and so forth. That is the things they wanted to conserve. Black people of today, many of us, we grew up in the church. We were super religious. All the way up into the 60s. We were super big on our families. Our firearms, right? Many of us are willing to give up our firearms. We are going against everything that our people stood for. And once we got away from conservatism and started leaning to the liberal side, our communities have been tanking ever since. But y'all let me know what y'all think about this. Make sure to like, follow, share.
So I was minding my business when Donald Trump said this.
We will deploy ICE, DHS, and other federal officials to go in and liberate Aurora. Can you believe I'm saying this? Can you believe I have to say this? We are going to liberate parts of our country. Let's go back another 300 years. We are going to liberate our country. Did you ever think I would be standing here? It's a hell of a way to...
300 years ago was 1724. That's 52 years before the signing of the Declaration of Independence. 63 years before the U.S. Constitution. That's 141 years before Black people in the Union, in this country, knew they were free. 141 years before the ratification of the 13th Amendment, the amendment which prohibits slavery, of course, unless for punishment of a crime. We can't forget that part because this still is the United States. Also, 240 years before the signing of the Civil Rights Act, which made it illegal to discriminate on the basis of race and skin color. And 241 years before every single Black person in this country had the legal right to vote. Think about that on November 5th. Think about that. You're voting for a man who wants to take you back to a time that he says America was great. 1724, a time where you did not have any rights. None. You're voting for him. You can't justify it. He'd rather see you in chains.
There's nothing more that grinds my gears or I hate than a coon, than an Uncle Tom, than a black pick me. Because in order to be that person, you have to become willfully obtuse and throw out all of the history that you know exists as a Black person in this country.
I'm seeing a lot of talk from my colleagues on the left too as we shift toward this reinvigorated talk about Jim Crow and the past of this country. And as someone who is a direct descendant of a slave, I can assure you, slavery is over. Jim Crow is dead. When I go anywhere, I don't see any white-only signs. I'm a Black man that represents a white majority district in Texas. The great-great-grandson of a man born on a plantation stands before you today as a proud conservative Republican from Texas, as a believer and follower in Christ, and as a believer in what this country can be if we allow equality.
Hey, boy, ain't no fucking way, boy. Boy, ain't no way, boy.
Megamind, please, not today. My great-grandmother was born on a plantation. My grandmother was born as the daughter of a sharecropper on said plantation. So please forgive me for you thinking that you have ownership of what that means, because there are millions, if not the majority of us who are Gen X and millennials whose grandparents were born on plantations. Does that mean that the history of the plantation and slavery, the subsequent oppression of black people in this country, is over? There may not be white-only signs on stores, but there are definitely white-only districts that are being drawn currently by the Republicans and by the Confederate daughters and those who want the Confederacy to return. I just don't understand how black people, especially right now, when you literally can see our rights being taken away. You can see our rights being taken away, and you're still allowing yourself to be used by white America and be used by MAGA and be used by the right and be used by conservatives to deny what's happening.
Congressman, do you think Donald Trump has delivered on his promise to lower prices?
Yeah, he actually has. I know gas prices are a little bit higher because of what's happening in Iran, but across the country, a lot of prices actually have stabilized. I think, inflation's hard, but I remember where we were with the Biden administration. Airline tickets jumped 50%. It was insane. So he's doing a great job.
For a report card, what grade would you give him on the economy?
Oh, he gets an A.
An A?
Yeah.
Got it. Thank you, Congressman.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
It's ridiculous to me, man. It's ridiculous. You're in Texas. You are the state that started the redistricting and gerrymandering of taking away the black vote, and you're saying Jim Crow is over? There are literally millions of people right now, whose rights are at risk. And you're saying, nah, that's not true because my great-grandmother was born a slave. Who gives a fuck? That's all of us. But you cannot take away the reality of what's happening, and what's happening in this country is due to racism and due to them wanting to subjugate black people and put us back in a time where we had no fucking rights. But here you are, a coon shaped like a milk dud, telling white people, slavery is over, Jim Crow is over. Yeah. You want to live in a country where you want to live based off merit and everyone's equal? Well, talk to those same white people in that room you're sitting in that literally are trying at every moment right now to oppress us. That, it's an equal thing because we're all American. Man, fuck you, bro. Excuse my language, guys. I never really talk like this, but this infuriates me. It infuriates me that a black person with a platform would sit there and lie about what's happening in this country and lie about racism existing and lie about Jim Crow being over and lie. And I'm in an all-white district. You're a fucking coon. I'm getting offline for the rest of the day, guys.
I have a couple questions, right? Why is this no issue with Hispanics, okay, when they're going toward the Republican Party and voting for Donald Trump? There's no issue. They're trending toward Donald Trump. And why is it when a white Democrat decides to switch over to be a Republican, there's no issues? It's good. Same thing with Asian people. They want to go, if they was Democrat, they want to go, the conservative side, there's no issue. But God damn it, as soon as the as soon as the black folks decide to say, I'm done with this Democratic plantation, I am deprogrammed, I am done, I am headed toward the conservative, all hell breaks out. Tell me why, man. Yeah, and then after that happened, right? Once we decide we out of here, and they start seeing us on the news, and they see it's man, something changing. Then Joe Biden, the plantation owner, right? He goes send out his overseers, the other black folks, the one that stayed in the house, them house, you know where they are. We send them out like Al Sharpton, Roly Poly Martin, Bakari Sellers on CNN, like he know black folks. Black people not gonna go vote for Donald Trump. Shut the hell up, Bakari Sellers. You don't know shit. But that's Al Sharpton. And the main one, Jim Clyburn, the old man from South Carolina, the old representative in the House, been there in the House for damn near 60 years. Every 2 years he get voted in. He get his constituents in South Carolina, get him a fish fry, I'm serious, and a Coke, and they vote for him every year. He don't get any competition. I think this year was the first time ever. So they sent Joe Biden sent out his overseer. You need to go bring them ninjas back, because what's wrong with them? They changed their mind. What's wrong with them? Bring them back. Go get them, Al Sharpton. Bring him back onto the plantation. But guess what, baby? I look back at him. I said, man, I'm out here, man. I'm running, baby. I'm running. I'm like COURTTV, baby. I ain't going back. I ain't going back. Me and my other buddies, let's go, baby. We all running. We done, man. We like COURTTV. We're not going back to the Democratic plantation. That might as well stick. They might as well stop crying. Check this out, right? Here are the three ways that, the black folk, the uppity black folks, the gatekeepers like on MSNBC and CNN, them so-called, I never seen a white anchor ever try to demean, black folks from voting for Donald Trump. No, they always get the black people come on there so they demean black people. They get the black anchors. Hey, you go do it. You go do it. So they come on there, especially the black women on there. They'll talk bad about black men. They're not smart. They want to vote for Donald Trump because of his shoes, all that kind of BS, right? But this is what happened, right? The first phase, they try to get us to vote for Joe Biden. They lie. Well, Joe Biden did this for you, right? He did this, and just all lie. But he gonna do this for you, just give one more chance. We said, nah, we're done. That's the first step. Phase two, second step. They like, well, listen, Donald Trump's a racist, right? You don't like black people. And what about the Central Park Five? What about what happened with his dad back in the 70s? Like, I don't give a fuck. I was in Alabama. I was a little boy. I was a little boy in the 70s, man. I don't give a fuck what happened in the 70s in New York. I don't even like New York. I'm sorry. I like the people, but I don't even like New York. I don't give a fuck. Just because we black, I supposed to care? No. But anyway, that's the second phase, right? Then phase three. If they can't change their mind, guess what they're going to do? They're going to call you names. They're going to call you a bootlicker. They're going to call you a coon. I've been called all kind of names from black folks. Even some white people called me a coon. I had a white man that called me a coon before. What the hell? So you have thick skin, man. But anyway, man, that's what happened, man. There's total no respect for black folks, man. Just leave us alone, man. If we want to go conservative, you shouldn't even give a damn. Just leave us alone, man. Leave us alone, because we're done with the Democratic Party.
Me and conservative black men will never be able to see eye to eye, because what do you really get out of supporting the Republican Party? What do you get out of supporting MAGA? Because y'all support the same ideals, y'all support the same policies, but they never let y'all lead. No matter what level of government it is, they do not want to see y'all in a position of power and authority. I can prove it to you right now. In the history of the United States, how many black male governors have there been? Let me go ahead and stop you right there. You ain't even got to pull up Google. All three of them were Democrats. All three of them were black men. But let's take it up to the congressional level. Let's take it to the Fed level, right? How many black conservatives hold seats in the Senate? One, Tim Scott. That's it. How much power does he really have? How many conservative black men have held the position of a major party leader, like the Senate minority leader or the majority leader or anything like that? I'm going to go ahead and stop you right there. You ain't even got to pull up Google. Hakeem Jeffries in 2023, 2 years ago, became the first black leader of any major house in either side of Congress, in either of the houses. Damn near 250 years of this Congress existing, and we just got a black House minority leader. But beyond that, a conservative black man has never been in that leadership position. And be clear, when it comes to Congress, that's a group project. That is not an individual position of authority. They're either going to put you in a group setting, or they're going to put you in a position to where you're replaceable, like the president's cabinet. I'm still upset that they put Ben Carson as the head of housing and urban development. That makes no sense. There's no way that he should not have been Surgeon General. That is probably the most backhanded way of calling somebody a nigga to their face. But beyond that, the only black man to even touch the Oval Office was a Democrat. So again, I reiterate, what do y'all get out of supporting the Republican Party? What do you get out of being right wing? Because it seems like the only position they want you in is a position to kiss their ass.
The clip you have just watched revealed that black conservatism in America has a long history. Figures such as Frederick Douglass, who advocated for freedom, education, and equal rights, and later leaders such as Booker T. Washington, who emphasized economic independence and skill training, are often discussed in conversations about black political thought. In modern times, Black conservatives have become more visible through politicians, through commentators, through business leadership, through activities who argue that conservatism or conservative policies can provide solutions to challenges facing Black communities. Some Black conservatives believe that issues such as school choice, business ownership, criminal justice reforms, and reducing economic barriers should receive greater attention. They argue that communities can achieve progress through entrepreneurship. They argue that communities can receive progress through strong families and individual opportunities. Others have criticized certain conservative policies, arguing that government action is sometimes necessary to address historical issues or historical discriminations and ongoing inequalities. The rise of Black conservatives has created important debate within the Black communities and across American politics and the world in general. Supporters see it as evidence of political diversity and independence, while critics question whether some conservative policies adequately address racial inequality. So let me ask you this question. Should Black Americans be expected to support one political party, or should political choices depend on individuals' beliefs and priorities? Do you think the rise of Black conservatives represents a major change in American politics, or a simple, broader recognition of different voices? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. Continue watching more clips, and when we are back, we'll return with discussion on what this movement could mean for American political future. Continue to watch to the end. We'll be back with more commentary. Stay tuned.
After coming out the quote-unquote conservative closet, I've come to realize that there is nothing a white liberal hates more than a Black conservative. I mean, they hate conservatives overall, but there is nothing they despise more than a Black man with conservative values, for the simple sake that they are no longer able to use us as a prop or as somebody they can attach themselves to in order to, rid themselves of their white guilt, or essentially virtue signal themselves to. Now, I remember this had to be maybe 7 to 8 years ago when I was still living in the Bay Area. And if anybody out there knows what the Bay Area is like, it is essentially the hub of wokeness. It is like the woke mecca, right? The factory of wokeness. And so I remember being at a coffee shop that I would frequent, and every now and then I would run into this lady who was a professor at one of the local junior colleges in San Jose. Me and this lady would, strike up conversations, real light conversations, etc. We never got into politics or belief systems until this one day. And the one day we did, it actually became a debate, I guess you would say, where she was defending her communistic beliefs, even though she had come from a socialist, communistic country into the United States to escape it, but was still defending it. But nevertheless, I'm defending free market capitalism, and then that leads into politics. And she soon finds out that I indeed have conservative values. And, I was not a registered Republican at that time, but I was clearly on my way. And from that day forward, after we had that discussion, this woman who would always say hi to me when she saw me, start up a little conversation, completely ignored me. I'm talking about would walk right past me like I didn't exist. All of a sudden, after that conversation, I was no longer useful for her. She could no longer use me as a means to get some sort of gratification. Look at me associating myself with this poor Black person, and this is what I've come to realize when it comes to the entire dynamic of why white liberals try so hard to push this narrative. I mean, I think nobody does a better job at keeping racism alive than the race hustlers who get paid for it and the white liberals who use it as a means to, again, to virtue signal to the world that they're this righteous human being, and, you know, we should give them some sort of props for being that, aka the white savior. And it makes perfect sense to me because the entire foundation of the Democratic Party is that of control, right? It was the Democratic Party that fought to keep slavery intact. And the Republican Party was created as a reactionary party in order to eradicate the Democrats' plot to keep slavery essentially forever.
I find it absolutely hilarious how the left are always saying that Republicans are the racist ones. The only time, mind you, I have been conservative my entire life. The only time I have ever encountered racist people have been from the left, liberals. I've literally seen it in action, like in real time. I will be talking to someone and they will find out that I am a Trump supporter or I vote on the right side, and you see like something turn on in their head and they're like, racism, activate, and they just attack. Like it's humorous. More specifically, the racists that I do encounter on the left are predominantly white liberals and Black Americans. I think that literally just because 80% of Black Americans vote on the left, that we're a monolith automatically and deserve a vote. That right there within itself is racist, to think you have to vote a certain way because of the color of your skin. Let me calm down now. Joe Biden saying, you're not black if you don't vote for me. I mean, who's the racist? Anyway, I say all this because I'm not seeing racism on the right side. Just not seeing it. But on the left, though.
Being a conservative is one of the most pro-black things that you can do as a black person. And I know that seems backwards because there's a sentiment out there that I see all the time that black conservatives are seeking white approval, and I feel like that couldn't be further from the truth.
Why am I a black conservative? We never get asked this question. All we get is being threatened, bullied, and insulted for being a black conservative. But I'm going to tell you why. It's because I was inspired to be, because of history. And when I say history, I'm talking about his story, my great-grandfather's story. When I was young or so, just like every other kid, we went to go stay with our grandparents, which was my great-aunt and my great-uncle at the time, but they were just like grandparents to me. Well, her father, which was my great-grandfather, lived there. And every day, I would ask him to play a game of checkers because I was persistent in trying to beat him, in which I never did. One particular day, I asked my great-grandfather, was he a slave? I guess I caught him off guard because he sat back and he looked at me and he asked me, why did I ask him that? And I said, because you're old. And at that time, in my young little mind, it was taught to us that every black person in America was a slave. He looked at me, he made his move in checkers, and he answered me with, no, he was not a slave. Then he began to tell me his story, history. So born in 1889 in the deep South Texas, his parents were tenant farmers, what we call sharecroppers. But see, my great-grandfather's decision to seek more out of life changed the trajectory of our family's history today. He never saw himself as a victim. When he was a young boy, he attended a church, which was a school. Many of the churches back then during that time were also schools. So he attended there and he got inspired by his teacher to go to Tuskegee University. She mentored him and she helped shape his interest into attending Tuskegee University under the direction of Booker T. Washington. One of his renowned professors there, while he was in attendance at Tuskegee, was George Washington Carver. In 1912, my great-grandfather graduated with the engineering degree from Tuskegee. Now, we're talking about Jim Crow era at this point, deep in the South. He came back from Tuskegee University. Then he became a builder, an engineer. He built farm equipment, which was called the cotton gin, the sugarcane gin during that time. But nonetheless, they were farm equipment. He built it for that area. Not only did he do that, he was also a math professor. He taught school. All at the same time, he's still working as an engineer. Not only that, he became a landowner. He owned over 100 acres of land. We still own this land in our family today. That's history. Not only that, he has 7 children with his wife, and he put all 7 of his children through college. We're talking about Jim Crow era. They all graduated and became teachers and professors and principals themselves during a time where they integrated schools. That's history. I myself graduated from a high school where my uncle, which was my great-grandfather's son, was the first black principal at that school. That's history. See, one thing that I learned from my great-grandfather's stories, his story that he was telling me, is that he did not use the plight of black people during that time as an excuse for upward mobility, that he couldn't attain upward mobility. They have resiliency. And that is what the black conservatives out here are telling you. It's your choice to look at history and use it as your victimhood, or look at history and use it as resiliency. And that's just my great-grandfather's story. I have many stories in my own family that have made history. But nonetheless, because I don't want this video to be long, I do want black conservatives to start a trend in telling their family's history. It used to be a time where we had family reunions and we will learn each of our own family's history. Because my history of my great-grandfathers isn't the only one. There are many black families still existing today that owns land from hundreds of years ago, still existing today, that has the same story. So if we continue to start this trend in telling our history, maybe, just maybe, we can reclaim back our culture instead of our young people or whoever else is listening to first generational immigrant that came over here that was indoctrinated by a predominantly white institute, Ivy League college, to teach her about African American studies and hip hop. And she was raised as a Nickelodeon kid. But you call me a coon.
Being a black conservative is embarrassing. I actually get that comment a lot, but if I'm being honest, I can't believe that I was ever a Democrat in the first place. And let me tell you why. The Democrat Party so many of us blindly vote for was the party of slavery. And don't worry, I'll get to the party switch. Founded in 1828, it spent more than a century as the home of the slaveholder, the segregationist, and the opponent of civil rights. The Republican Party didn't even exist until 1854, and it was founded specifically to stop the spread of slavery. When the Civil War broke out, every single Confederate state was run by Democrats. Every Union state that fought to end slavery, Republican-led. After the war, nearly all black Americans were Republican. The first black U.S. Senator, Hiram Revels of Mississippi in 1870, Republican. The first 23 black members of Congress, all Republican. Democrats, on the other hand, fought to keep power by creating new systems of control. Black codes, sharecropping, and later Jim Crow laws. And in 1865, Democrats in the South formed the KKK, a terrorist organization built to suppress Republican votes and keep black people in their place. Fast forward to the 20th century, and Democrats continue to oppose civil rights at every single turn. And yet we've been told that the party's just switched. And it's simply a fallacy that's been repeated so many times that we've blindly accepted it, despite it making zero sense. They usually point to Strom Thurmond, a segregationist Democrat who switched parties in 1964. But here's the truth. Of the over 150 Democratic lawmakers who signed the Southern Manifesto opposing civil rights, only 2 ever became Republicans. 2. That is not a party switch. That is a rebrand. When Democrats could no longer enslave us physically, they figured out how to enslave us mentally. Enter the 1960s, the war on poverty. President Lyndon B. Johnson, a Democrat, rolled out massive welfare programs, aid to families with dependent children, food stamps, housing subsidies, all marketed as compassion. But here is what really happened. In the 1950s, before these programs, black marriage rates were higher than white marriage rates. About 77% of black children were born to 2-parent households. By the 1980s, that number had dropped below 40%, and today it's closer to 30%. That's not progress, that's collapse. And the most bitter irony is that we traded one master for another. We said no more master to the overseer, and then turned around and said yes, master, to the DNC. Johnson himself reportedly said, "I'll have those words voting Democrat for the next 200 years. Looking at the numbers, he wasn't wrong. Since 1965, the federal government has spent over $25 trillion on anti-poverty programs. Yet the black poverty rate has barely moved. It's stuck between 20 and 25% for half a century. Meanwhile, the black home ownership rate is lower today than it was in 1968 when the Fair Housing Act was passed. In our public schools and Democrat-run cities like Baltimore, Detroit, and Chicago, less than 10% of Black students read or do math at grade level. But every election cycle, the Democrats show up with the same promises: more programs, more spending, more government, and somehow more excuses for their lack of results. Let's be honest, the modern Democrat Party does not liberate Black America. It manages. It thrives on victimhood, resentment, and dependency. Because if the problems they campaign on were ever solved, they'd lose their power. So no, I'm not embarrassed to be a Black conservative. I'd be embarrassed to know the truth and still choose the lie. Real freedom isn't found in bowing down to the very same party that enslaved us. It's found in accountability and truth. The most radical thing a Black person can do today is think for themselves. I hope that helps.
Now that you have seen the bigger picture, one thing is clear. The rise of Black conservatives show that America, or Black America, is not a single political group with one set of beliefs. Like every community, it contains different experiences, it contains different opinions, different debates about the best path forward. Some focus on government solutions, while others emphasize personal responsibility, free market, faith, education, and community-based change. In 2026, the conservation around Black conservatives continue to grow as political parties compete for support, and it's more Black American openly discussing issues beyond traditional party boundaries. Whether this movement becomes a major political force or remain a smaller but influential voice, it has already challenged assumptions about identity. It has challenged assumptions about politics and about representation in America. Now, we want to hear from you. Do you think the rise of Black conservatives will reshape American politics, or will traditional voting will traditional voting patterns remain strong? Share your opinions in the comment below. If you enjoyed this video, please support the Freedom Room by subscribing to the channel, like and share with friends and families, and turn on the notification button so that you never miss out on our videos. Thank you for watching to the end, and see you in the next video.